Namaste and good evening, everybody, to today's session on Mahatma letters to AP Sinnet. Today, we will be covering some letters from Appendix-III, the letters of H.P.Blavatsky to AP Sinnet. And we will be covering from LBS-2 to LBS-207. Let us begin today's session with the universal invocation. O hidden life, vibrant in every atom, O hidden light, shining in every creature, O hidden love, embracing all in oneness, may each who feels himself as one with thee know he is also one with every other. Thank you. And our speaker for today is Sister Catalina Izaza Cantor. She's an author, poet, translator, and an editor. She is based at the international headquarters of the Theosophical Society in Adyar, India. And she joined the Theosophical Society in 2006, influenced by her parents. Presently, she serves as the international lecturer and secretary of the School of Wisdom. Her work also includes contribution to international events and media outreach for the Theosophical Society. Catalina is a board member of the TS in Colombia and has been active in organizing theosophical youth work in English and Spanish. She has served as board member of the World Federation of Young Theosophists from 2022 to 24. Catalina holds a master's degree in education and also a postgraduate diploma in cultural management and an honors degree in literature. She is editor-in-chief of Selectio Theosophica. She has co-founded a YouTube channel, Pragya Studio, along with her spouse. And this channel shares theosophical teachings. Catalina is a lifelong seeker and global citizen, and she deeply believes in the transformative power of small acts of love and service. So I welcome, a very warm welcome to you, Catalina, and I request you to start the session now.
Thank you very much, dear Sister Viva, and to all of you, my dear friends. I thank you for joining us this evening. I extend my heartfelt gratitude also to Brother Mahapatra and Sister Meenakshi and the entire Indian section whose efforts make these weekly studies possible. And to begin, I always like to take a moment of silence. So, because we are coming from different activities, to the Zoom, etc. So let's just take that moment of silence to remind ourselves of our shared thoughts and intentions here with this weekly study, which unite us across physical distances. So if you wish, you can just close your eyes and visualize our connection heart to heart, here, now, in communion. Thank you. So I'm going to share my screen. I will accompany the presentation. Oh, Sister Viva, can you please allow me to share the screen?
Yes, Catalina, you can do it now. You are the co-host.
Yes, perfect. Thank you very much. So, as Sister Viva just mentioned, today we are going on the Appendix-III of the chronological edition. And today is the first part. There are a series of 25 fragments or letters. And today we will just go through some of them. And these letters, also as Sister Viva mentioned, are from H.P.Blavatsky to AP Sinnet, and they offer a rich personal view into the early theosophical movement Unlike the Mahatma letters, which are attributed to the master, these are mostly written by Blavatsky herself and show her close relationship with Sinnet, as well as her challenges and convictions. But not only are there her letters, but also there are exchanges from Alan Hume, and there is even one attributed to Anna Kingsford, but those we are going to see next time. And through all these letters, there are notes from the Mahatmas, KH and M, and even some like paragraphs written by them that give all these like more dynamic content. So they are like identified like LBS, letter Blavatsky to Sinnet, that is the meaning, but actually they have more than that. But of course, the main portion are those letters from Blavatsky to Sinnet. So through all these letters, I have identified like four main topics or themes that are transversal to all of them. And these are like the first one is they give like ideas and thoughts on the relationship with the Mahatmas and the esoteric path. In her letters, Blavatsky and the comments that accompany them by the master, sometimes it makes it clear that real connection with the Mahatmas isn't about chasing them down or demanding proof of them, but about inner change. This we will see more in next session because there are a couple of letters of Hume that really are like very demanding of the proof of the masters. Today we won't reach that part because we will start the previous letter, but through all the letters, she also keeps reminding Sinnet that the masters operate on a spiritual level that goes beyond Western logic. And this is like a recurrent topic, not only in this letter, but through all the Mahatma letters, actually. And that what really matters are qualities like humility, trust, patience, devotion, etc. But over time, also some of the letters or this fragment shows a little bit of the character of Hume. He seeing his push for clear answers and special treatment as coming from ego and ambition. We can remember in the Appendix 1, there was a letter from Hume that really show how his mindset is still very connected to the logical, rational of the West. So in these passages, it's shown again. And the Mahatmas themselves comment on these two, pointing out that his pride is actually blocking his progress. Blavatsky also, in relationship with this and this, the Mahatmas and the esoteric path, she hints that there is a deeper, hidden spiritual network behind it all, but that it will only open when someone is truly ready. For her, the Mahatmas aren't here to impress, they are here to guide transformation. So we see that all these letters that we have in this appendix also kind of complement and have similar contents to the whole Mahatma letters compilation. The second topic that I identified was the personal struggles and sacrifice of Blavatsky herself, who often describes her physical suffering, her emotional stress, her isolation. She speaks openly about the toll that transmitting occult teachings take on her. The work of sharing esoteric knowledge involves deep personal cost and sacrifice. And there are some letters of Blavatsky included in the Mahatma letters, not on the appendices, but in the other letters, that actually also show that part, that phase. The third topic are the occult teachings, practical instruction, and phenomena. Okay, here the phenomena is less, but again, it's like a recurrent subject in the whole Mahatma letters compilation. And in these letters, Blavatsky offers clear yet personal insights into core theosophical ideas. While she acknowledges occult phenomena, she cautions against overvaluating them and saying that such events are not signs of true progress necessarily. because once more, the real path is moral, grounded in self-discipline and inner transformation, not on outward display. And the fourth is the defense of the Theosophical Society and some advice on the administration side of the TS and lodges, which we can also see on the Mahatma letters, the whole book. She strongly speaks in the Masters also against turning the society into a political or intellectual institution, insisting that its core mission must remain spiritual and inclusive and not become rigid, sectarian, or focus on outer structures, that its true value lies in its spiritual aims. Basically, those are like the general topics. So now we will go one by one we may omit a few because there are some that are like just a sentence or something like that, or maybe we integrate them. And the reason for omitting a few that has to do with their brevity and because their themes are addressed elsewhere in the fragments of this Appendix-III. So the first title that appears there is actually the letter Blavatsky to Sinnet, Sinnet number 2, dated March 25, 1882. These letters are not organized chronologically. They are fragments or letters comprised between the year of 1880 to 1884, but not in chronological order. So this actually, it says in the book that this is a note by the Mahatma K.H. appended in a letter of H.P.B. to Sinnet, and it says that it is the same as Mahatma letter 56, which is the 100 in Baker. So though it has been already studied since it's 56, it was a long time ago, so I am briefly going to just describe what happens in that letter. That letter is a brief but decisive warning from Master Kutumi to Sinnet that is added as a postscript to a letter by H.P.B. And it addresses specifically an issue that is Alan Hume's insane, like that's the word that the master uses to refer to his plan to travel to Tibet to seek direct contact with the Mahatmas. So in this letter, Master K.H. strongly rejects the idea that political influence or physical effort could provide such access, emphasizing instead that spiritual contact depends entirely on inner readiness and karmic alignment. And Master K.H. puts it in the following way. He says, those whom we desire to know us will find us at the very frontiers. Those who have set against themselves the Shohans as he has will not find us where they go to Lhasa with an army. And he further adds, his idea of applying to the government, because he wanted to apply to the government of Lhasa for a permission to go to Tibet with this Western mindset. So his idea of applying to the government for permission to go to Tibet is ridiculous. He will encounter dangers at every step, will not even hear the remote tidings about ourselves or our whereabouts. So this marks a clear boundary between the sacred and the profane, the esoteric and the institutional. It underscores that the path to the Mahatmas is spiritual, not geographical or bureaucratic, and also reveals the Mahatmas' readiness to sever contact when their principles are misunderstood or violated, which was Hume's case. And it stands as a strong affirmation that true access to higher knowledge comes through humility, not ambition, and that the doorway to the masters remains closed to those who try to force it open. So that's mainly the content of that part, actually referring to that letter 56. Next, on this series of the appendix, we have letter to Blavatsky to Sinnet number 4, that is dated of September 1881. And this is a letter of H.P.B. to Sinnet with a note by Master M that offers a unique glimpse into the communication among Blavatsky and her master Moria and A.P. Sinnet. It's a brief letter and somewhat fragmented, but it serves a dual purpose of practical instruction and a subtle spiritual direction. The letter is written in H.P.B. handwriting, and she begins with this expression. She says, I have been ordered by my boss. So that is the instruction that her boss, Master M, gave her. And then she lists the structure of the letter is like a number from 1 to 7. It's like a list of instructions that her boss has given her to give to Sinnet. And it's like she's giving it like a mission, like character to him. It's like a checklist of tasks that Sinnet is expected to carry out. And the second point of the letter, out of the 7, gives the following instruction to Sinnet. It says, to insist upon having a true copy of the hitherto written sketches of cosmogony with the Tibetan words, M's notes, etc. HPB is also ordered to have one, as she has to know thoroughly what Mr. Hume has noted and how much he has elaborated of the explanations. So these written sketches that she's of cosmogony with Tibetan words and master's notes refer to a set of early esoteric teachings shared privately with Sinnet by the Mahatmas, especially Master M, and they are also mentioned in the Mahatma letters, in previous letters, and they were symbolic diagrams with Tibetan terms, as she mentioned, that intended to illustrate the ideas, key ideas about the origin and structure of the universe, like all related to the cosmogenesis. And they explored topics like cosmic evolution, planes of existence, and the laws governing the formation of worlds. Though described as imperfect and raw, their purpose was to help bridge Eastern esoteric knowledge and Western reasoning. That's why they were given directly to Sinnet. And while the original sketches have not been published and maybe lost, their core ideas seem to have been included in the secret doctrine, particularly the parts dealing with the stanzas of Xian. So that was the first, that was one of the instructions that HPB gave to Sinnet to she needed to have a true copy of these sketches in order to know what Mr. Hume has noted and elaborated on them. And the letter continues. She says, otherwise, when the reaction comes and Mr. Hume begins studying once more, neither Mr. Sinnet nor HPB will be au courant, means like updated on his thoughts, and he will begin once more abusing, like the quartet of musicians in Aesop's fable, the instruments on which he does not know how to play. So we see that they are here, she's referring to Hume's character, and he was entrusted with portions of the esoteric teachings, the diagrams, explanations, etc. But his scientific and rationalist approach soon clashed with their symbolic and metaphysical nature. Initially, he was very engaged and inquisitive, but he was struggling to grasp the intuitive dimension that is essential to an occult understanding. Master KH plainly states in Mahatma letter number 29 on this respect. He literally says, Hume is hopelessly unfit for metaphysics, hence occultism. While in this letter, Blavatsky, echoing this frustration, warned that he distorted the teachings by forcing them into rigid Western frameworks. And this inconsistency and this pride of Hume's became growing concerns with time. This we can also observe in the Mahatma letters. And in this letter, there is this comparison to a musician abusing instruments that he doesn't know how to play. That underscores the damage that misapplied knowledge can do in a shared esoteric effort, which was the kind of effort that was necessary at the time. So Hume's inability to integrate the teachings on their own terms eventually led to dissonance and disillusion. So that is like the entire metaphor of this instrument that he doesn't know how to play. And while many of his notes were later destroyed, fragments such as letter that we are going to study next session, LBS 155 and LBS 156, they reflect the impatience and the persistent drive to analyze rather than internalize that Hume had. So this also echoes Master K.H. broader critique in the Appendix-I, that is this letter from K.H. to Hume, where Master says that true occultism demands more than intellect. Though Hume had a very high intellect, rational intellect, he didn't have the conditions for occultism because it requires humility and learning and the awakening of a deeper intuitive understanding. And this is important for us to remember also because we are students of theosophy. And this reminds us that this spiritual wisdom, the spiritual knowledge can be forced into familiar molds. We have to really unlearn. There is a passage of the letters of the masters that also says that we have to unlearn a lot of the conditionings because only in that way we can transcend the inferior realm of our mind to go and connect to our intuition, to Buddhi. And as theosophists today, we are called to move beyond analysis and embrace a deeper, more intuitive way of learning, grounded, as we have mentioned, in humility and patience, inner change, self-observation, and as I have mentioned, like connecting with our Buddhic nature. Actually, H.P.B. herself used to say that the study of the secret doctrine was meant to bring that, to awake that Buddhic nature on us when we really apply to that study from a deeper perspective, trying not to understand it with the mind, but with something higher. So that's what this instruction refers. And then a little further in the point 5 of these 7 points that H.P.B. is asking Sinnet, she says, Mr. Sinnet is reminded to telegraph O, probably referring to Olcott, not to answer one word to Mr. Hume until he receives a letter from Mr. Sinnet. This brief but telling remark shows the sensitive interpersonal and political dynamics within the early theosophical circles. Mr. Hume once was a collaborator, but as we already know by the letters, he had moments of tension with the Mahatmas and other figures within the theosophical movement. Even when the Hudson investigation came, he kind of was on the part that doubted the authenticity of the letters because of his extremely rational mind. So he had tension within the theosophical movement at the time. And this instruction is specifically aiming to withhold communication until a specific message is received, and that suggests a careful, like to be careful, likely due to complex interpersonal tensions or to misunderstandings. And also it reflects the deliberate caution that the Mahatmas and H.P.B. as their intermediary exercised when dealing with personalities prone to doubt, opposition, or whether very emotional or rational reactivity. And it also hints at the kind of occult diplomacy we need to maintain in coherence and avoid fracturing the movement during its formative years, but I guess it applies. All these contents and teachings are relevant to us today, and it's up to us to look and see what of these can talk to us and what of these we can apply and consider and reflect upon for our current affiliation with the Theosophical Society and for the enriching the Theosophical movement and for us to be better channels of service to the Theosophical movement. The letter continues bringing practical logistic with inner principles. For example, there is a part where she recommends to announce the formation of the Anglo-Indian investigation of the Theosophical Society. So this also was some issue that was addressed in a past letter regarding the Anglo-Indian. Actually, it was addressed in this letter from K.H. to Hume, that is the Appendix-I. He addresses also things related to this Simla society. And here in these instructions, she says, Mr. Sinnet is advised to announce the formation of the Allahabad Society, calling it the Anglo-Indian Investigation of Theosophical Society. Let it be distinct from the other branch, Pragya Theosophical Society. It will find wonderful mesmeric subjects in it if he but searches. So here it shows how HPB navigates the challenge of sharing esoteric ideas in a skeptical colonial setting, because this Anglo-Indian society was composed mostly from English or Western people living in India, but with this kind of mindset. And that's why she suggests that Sinnet use a more neutral, scientific sounding name to avoid pushing away the skeptical British educated elite. This is kind of a strategy about making esoteric work more socially acceptable without diluting its core. And she kind of proposed a separate but cooperative society when different methods can be implemented. And there is a reference to mesmeric subjects that points to a hands-on experimental approach, exploring and developing people's hidden psychic abilities initially. But we know that later that was not there anymore. So right after there, then it comes the following comment or instruction, where she says, Mr. Sinnet is advised by Master M to make it a special duty to prevent his little son being made to eat meat under any pretext whatever. Once the mother has placed the child on KH protection, there is nothing ridiculous in the idea. The child may become a powerful engine for good in a near future, if left in his nature and not made a puppet. We see that there are a variety of instructions in this letter, but all of them share a deep meaning, and from all of them we can take out something that is meaningful. This is comment on this on the young Sinnet songs is particularly striking because it reflects the long-term spiritual vision from the Mahatmas and their emphasis on vegetarianism and purity that reveals a concern not just with abstract ideas, but with preparing living instruments for future transformation, even in the form of a child whose potential they perceive. Yet, they caution against making a puppet of the body when it shows when showing a deep respect for the soul's individual evolution. This is something that we can also apply to the way that we approach our physical vehicle, to be very careful with it in order to make it a better instrument for service. And also, maybe because I am a teacher, so I was thinking that from a theosophical perspective, through spiritual education, like the education of a child, that is something really important because children are still, they have a lot of tendencies that come from previous lives, of course, but they have still the possibility to be molded and educated in a way that is more that is better for service and for fulfilling the mission in life. So the true spiritual education nurtures the inner self rather than imposing dogma or conformity. And this is a view that anticipates modern insights into child psychology within a spiritual context. And now we have this transformative education, we have Montessori's education, Waldorf, many kind of education that really take this into consideration. But it's worth mentioning here that the boy, Sinnet's son, which names was Dennis Sinnet, and was seen by Blavatsky as a future force for good. He sadly lived a quite undistinguished life because he died very young in his 20s of tuberculosis. So nothing of this happened, but at least this fragment makes us reflect upon how important it's also to think of our physical vehicles for a better service. And finally, the last 2 points of this letter that goes like this. So just let me see. The 6 says, Mr. Sinnet is advised now that he will be alone to put himself in communication through Adyaram B with some Hindu mystics, not for the sake of philosophy, but to find what mineral phenomena can be produced at the Malakshetra, a number of such visitings the town. And this is a practical esoteric directive. It suggests that Sinnet should engage with Indian mystics, not to discuss metaphysics, but to experiment with and observe tangible occult phenomena, specifically mineral phenomena. And this could refer to the materialization of or transformation of matter. That was a topic of much fascination in the early theosophical literature, probably. And this instruction not to focus on philosophy signals a shift toward empirical occultism, the active experimental side of theosophy that tests inner laws through other events. So also there is a reference to Malakshetra that likely refers to a sacred or spiritual charged region in or around Benares or another Indian town known for its esoteric tradition. The use of the term visitings suggests the presence of spiritual adepts or unusual occurrences in that area, which is an encouragement to Sinnet to be attentive to the energetic atmosphere and perhaps synchronicities that may occur. And HPB last point carries an encouragement to maintain communication. And she says, whenever he feels like writing or needs M's advice, Mr. Sinnet is told to do so without hesitation. M will always answer him, not only for KH's sake, but his own sake, as Mr. S has proved that even an Anglo-Indian can have the true spark in him, which no amount of brandy and soda and other stuff can extinguish, and which will occasionally glitter out and very brightly. This passage reveals both the warmth and wisdom of true spiritual mentorship. And also the Mahatma assures Sinnet that sincere seekers will always receive guidance if they ask with trust and perseverance. And at the same time, we can see a touch of humor and realism. The master playfully points out the cultural and material habits that can cloud perception, yet affirms that even in a conditioned mind, flashes of truth can break through. So that is this last sentence. Even in a conditioned mind, we can be conditioned. We can, if we really persevere and we really have that conviction, these flashes of truth can break through. And finally, the letter ends with a comment by Master M himself, that says, "It was my wish that she should read the letter to Fer last night. You can also show and read it to RS if you like. All of the above is correct. Yours." So this is a brief note from Master M that adds weight and validation to the message conveyed by Blavatsky by confirming its accuracy and encouraging its wider sharing. And he emphasized transparency, trust, and the importance of shared understanding among the circle involved. It also underscores that occult teachings are selective and that discretion is crucial to avoid misunderstanding or misuse. And when he talks, he refers to Fern. Fern was the nickname that was used in some theosophical correspondence for Francesca Arundel, that was a close associate of Blavatsky and an early member of the Theosophical Society, and as we know, the aunt of George Arundel. So this letter is presented as a list of tasks. It reveals the master's thoughtful involvement in both practical and spiritual matter, using familiar terms or things that recurrent terms that have been already used through all the letters. So the third letter that composes the Appendix-III is letter LBS-5, dated of November 2nd, 1880. So to offer some context, on November 6, 1880, the Bombay Gazette published an item on HPB's being a correspondent of a Russian newspaper, a fact that HPB openly acknowledged, and she wrote a reply and sent it to Sinnet for publication. But apparently Sinnet did not receive this letter. And then HPB wrote a subsequent letter which ends in the paragraph that I am quoting below and that is quoted in these letters. And she says, "This was sent to you fervently begging you to print it, for I was anxious to break the heads, at least one, of my enemies." KH remarked that it was better if I should let you write a few words. I said no, but it appears that he had his own way and played some trick because he is wise and strong and healthy, and I foolish and now weak and sick. If I am so useless and foolish, why don't they annihilate me? Oh, I have enough of this old carcase. So we see that KH was not in agreement that she publishes that text, but then he managed to do something to make it disappear. And here we see how, I mean, she is also complaining of her physical condition and of her struggles. So it offers a vivid glimpse into the personal and spiritual tensions that she was having at the moment, but also that the theosophical movement was having with the society of the moment. It reveals the external pressures that HPV face, such as public accusations and media attacks, while also exposing the emotional and metaphysical burden of her unique role as intermediary between the Mahatmas and the world. Blavatsky's own words express deep frustrations and vulnerability. She makes a blunt confession, like, I was anxious to break the heads of my enemies, and this showcases her fiery nature. However, Master's KH guidance that it will be fitter for her to act with restraints points to the essential conflict between personal impulse and spiritual discipline. And her closing words, where she says, I have enough of this old carcass. And then she said, I didn't copy it here, but she ends the letter saying, love to both of you, yours, con même, like yours in spite of everything. These convey exhaustion, resignation, and enduring loyalty, as always she was. And also they show the raw of the human side of this wonderful figure that she was, that was carrying a profound spiritual responsibility, even though she was strongly suffering. This offers a profound insight into Blavatsky conditions and the occult understanding of human nature. With compassion and clarity, Kutumi explains that he has a note there in this letter, which I have not included here, but the note that he puts after this letter shows the compassion and clarity with which he explains the strain between body and spirit. He says, spirit is strong, but flesh is weak. So weak sometimes that it even overpowers the strong spirit which knows all truth. So sometimes the body is so weak that even if Blavatsky that has this strong spirit which know the truth because she was the intermediary and she was this high person that was selected and searched for the Mahatmas to do this work. But the body was weak at the point that sometimes even her used to behave like this. And this crisis becomes a teaching moment on the duality of human consciousness, especially of the role of the invisible but real I am. As he knows in the note, it is cases like these which puzzle the biologists and physiologists, which highlights the limit of material science in grasping spiritual phenomena. And he also shares the impact of Blavatsky's physical state on his ability to act through her. And he says, I can now only act through her upon very rare occasions and under the greatest precautions. So he is really showing that her sacrifice was really affecting her physical and other bodies. But of course, that the spiritual work was still more important. So in just a few lines, the letter reveals the depth of Blavatsky's inner struggles, the cost of serving as a channel for higher wisdom, and the loving vigilance of the master guiding her path. This is a very nice, beautiful, and deep fragment of these letters of the Appendix-III. Then the next one is the LBS 20 from December 11, 1881. And it has the following comment. In a letter to Sinnet, H.P.B. writes in a postscript, and yet the boss always said that the fragments, that refers to a book that was published by, or to some text written by Hume, and she said, was a magnificently written article. The comment of M follows. So the comment of Master M is this one. And the boss says so still, but the boss will ask no more Mr. Hume to do anything for either society or humanity. Mr. Hume will have henceforth to ride his own donkey, and we too remain satisfied with our own legs. M. This note from Master M is succinct but cutting. After H.P.B. praises Hume's article, M clarifies that despite any merit in Hume's work, the Brotherhood has withdrawn trust in him. The phrase to ride his own donkey suggests Hume must now proceed on his own path without their support. It illustrates the master's emphasis on motive, loyalty, and cooperation over mere intellectual brilliance, as we have already mentioned. Next, it comes the LBS 29 of November 17, 1883, which is a note by K.H. on a letter by H.P.B. to Sinnet. The first half of the letter refers to the Kittle incident, and a portion of the letter has apparently been erased, and the following note precipitated in K.H. handwriting. And later I will mention briefly what is the Kittle incident. So the note is all what we can see is like the true proof of her discretion. I will tell you all myself as soon as I have an hour's leisure, K.H. So Master K.H. briefly acknowledged H.P.B.'s discretion in a delicate situation that apparently involved the Kittle incident that was a controversial episode. Henry Kittle was an English spiritualist that was questioning the authenticity of the Mahatma letters, specifically K.H. letters, Master K.H. letters. And here, Master Kutumi promises to explain in person later what is it about. And this shows that while Mahatmas guide from a distance, they maintain a personal connection and concern. And this this incident that was questioning the authenticity of the letters. Then Master Kutumi later explained when in person that during the physics transmission process, fragments of existing thoughts like kiddos will intentionally enter the message. During the Mahatma letters, we have also seen how the precipitation of the letters occurs and how during this process of precipitation, a lot of elements are involved and mistakes can happen. So that's this KH explanation about this, and that's the reason why this person questioned the authenticity of the letters. And the next letter of this is the LBS 30 of December 1883 that refers to a part of the letter from HPB to Sinnet that states, "Let the karma of this fall upon me, for I see now boldly and only the weapon or responsible thing I have been. Mahatma K.H. played first fiddle, any my boss, second at all events. I have no say but to obey." And then the master comments goes, saying the following. "Quite so, for it is the best policy. Sinnet Sahib, you must not wonder. We have the good of the whole movement and society at heart. Even the wishes of the majority shall not prevail. The feelings of the less enlightened minority having also to be consulted. The day must come when all will know better. Meanwhile, the Aku tries to fascinate KH by her portraiture." So when he says, "Let the karma," when she says, "Let the karma of this fall upon me," that reflects Blavatsky's burdened sense of responsibility, even as she feels reduced to a weapon of irresponsible thing. And the Mahatma's brief commentary signals a pragmatic endorsement rather than an empathetic support. So the lecture underscores the tension between personal conscience and organizational obedience, which is a recurring challenge in this interaction. And also in this comment, Master uses the term aku, that is like is a term that likely refers to HPB as someone trying to impress or emotionally sway Master Kutumi with her portrait. While Aku is an ancient Egyptian term that means an enlightened or radiant being. Here it's used humorously to suggest someone aspiring to spiritual influence, perhaps with a bit of vanity. We don't know. I mean, this is just an interpretation. And this also reflects mostly, I mean, what I think it reflects is Master's blend of affection and deeper insight into human nature. And that reminds us that always, I mean, like also make this like interaction more closer and more human, basically. And following, it's the letter LBS 34 of March 1884, which refers to the appearance of the word "correct" from Master M in a letter by HPB to Sinnet regarding the matter of the London Lodge. This London Lodge matter was dealt in the letter 121. For your reference, if you want to go and see, it was a letter completely dedicated to the London Lodge matter. And it captures like this matter that was happened between two figures that were Sinnet and Anna Kingsford. And the fragment reveals that ideological divisions were happening at the moment because Kingsford was associated with esoteric Christians, while Sinnet represented more like esoteric Buddhists. And the Mahatmas, particularly Master KH and M, are portrayed as reluctantly allowing pluralism within the movement, provided it does not violate overarching spiritual aims. And it also reflects the delicate balancing act of diplomacy that affirms that there was an autonomy of the London Lodge without undermining central authority. But if you want to know more about this London Lodge incident, I refer you to the letter 121. I'm not going to go in depth here, even because we already deal with that, and also because this is a very short fragment that basically was aimed to reaffirm Master's agreement with this when he says correct. And finally, for today's session, we will close with LBE's 50 that doesn't have a year, but is dated October 9th. And it contains a very brief comment of Mahatma AM written on a letter to H.P.B. to Sinnet. And it says only this: approximately true copy of the 8 of the whole truth, M. That's all. And it's a comment that on a letter by H.P.B. The letter is not included in this fragment, only this comment that I have copied on the PowerPoint. But it refers to a letter by H.P.B. about a theosophist of the time whose name was Devan Bahadur Rangutan Rao Narishimienga. I'm sorry for the pronunciation. But basically, the important thing is that it suggests a larger view of reality and communication, highlighting the theosophical emphasis on partial truths and hidden meanings. That's why he says approximately true copy of the 8 of the whole truth. And it cautions the reader and Sinnet, of course, against taking any account at face value. It's also a subtle critique of Blavatsky's narrative, suggesting that while it was not false, it omits a lot. So that was basically the aim of this comment, approximately true copy of 1/8 of the whole truth. So these are like the first letters of this Appendix-III. As you can see, they touch on many topics, but we can see in all of them like a continuation or a complement of subjects and topics that have already been dealt with during the Mahatma letters. And as I always insist when we study any kind of literature, philosophical literature, I guess a main thing to do with this kind of study is to see how they talk to us for practical implementation and for improving ourselves, not only as individuals, but also as channels of service of the theosophical movement of the spiritual, in the spiritual practice. And so that's basically what I wanted to share with you. I'm sorry I took a little more time, but I wanted like to finish this section because in the next one I will focus more like in this. There are 2 letters of Hume and one of Anna Kingsford that are more related thematically. So that's all, and thank you for your patience and attention. And I'm going to stop sharing the screen.
Thank you very much, Sister Catalina. And it was very nicely that you brought out the salient points from these letters. And can I request Sister Minakshi ji to give us the Hindi translation if we have it?
आज मैडम ब्लेवेट्स्की द्वारा सीनेट को लिखे पत्र में महात्माओं की जो टिप्पणियां हैं उस पत्र को और टिप्पणियों को भी लेंगे। तो पहला पत्र है लेटर नंबर 2 जो मार्च 25, 1882 में लिखा था। यह महात्मा केएच द्वारा एचपीबी को लिखे पत्र में सीनेट के लिए संलग्न नोट है जो लेटर नंबर 56 के समान है, जिसमें केएच द्वारा सीनेट को सख्त चेतावनी दी है। महात्माओं से प्रत्यक्ष संपर्क करने, तिब्बत की यात्रा करने की ह्यूम की मूर्खतापूर्ण योजना से संबंधित है। महात्मा इस विचार को दृढ़तापूर्वक खारिज करते हैं कि राजनीतिक प्रभाव या प्रयास से आध्यात्मिक से उन तक पहुंच नहीं जा सकता, बल्कि वे इस बात पर जोर देते हैं कि आध्यात्मिक संपर्क पूर्णतः आंतरिक तत्परता और सत्कार्य पर निर्भर करता है। लेटर नंबर 56 इस बात की पुष्टि करता है कि उच्च ज्ञान प्राप्ति विनम्रता सद्भावना से प्राप्त होता है, महत्वाकांक्षा से नहीं, और जो जबरन महात्माओं से संपर्क चाहते हैं वे कभी कामयाब नहीं होंगे। अगला पत्र लेटर नंबर 4 जो सितंबर 1881 में लिखा था। यह पत्र एचपीबी द्वारा सीनेट को लिखा गया था, जिसमें मास्टर एम का एक नोट है। एचपीबी कहती है, मेरे बॉस यानी मास्टर एम द्वारा सीनेट को निम्नलिखित बातें बताने का आदेश है। सेकेंड पॉइंट है इसमें से कि अब तक महात्मा एम द्वारा लिखे गए तिब्बती शब्दों सहित कॉस्मोगोनी के नोट्स और स्केचेस की ट्रू कॉपी को प्राप्त करने पर उन्होंने जोर दिया है और एचपीबी को भी एक प्रतिलिपि प्राप्त करने का आदेश दिया गया है मास्टर एम द्वारा, क्योंकि उसे यानी एचपीबी को यह अच्छी तरह से पता होना चाहिए कि मिस्टर ह्यूम ने उसमें से क्या नोट किया है और उन्होंने स्पष्टीकरणों को कितना विस्तारित किया है। अन्यथा जब उस विषय पर प्रतिक्रिया आएगी और मिस्टर ह्यूम पुनः विचार करेंगे, तब न तो मिस्टर सीनेट और न ही एचपीबी उनके विचारों से अवगत होगी और ह्यूम पुनः एक बार वह जिस विषय में अनभिज्ञ है इसका दुष्प्रयोग करना शुरू करेगा। आगे का पॉइंट है, मिस्टर सीनेट को यह सलाह दी जाती है कि इलाहाबाद जाने के उपरांत इलाहाबाद सोसाइटी के गठन की घोषणा करे। इसे एंग्लो इंडियन इन्वेस्टिगेशन का नाम दे और प्रयाग थियोसॉफिकल सोसाइटी से वह भिन्न होनी चाहिए, वैशिष्ट्यपूर्ण होनी चाहिए। हालांकि उस सोसाइटी के हिंदू सभासद मिस्टर सीनेट के लिए बहुत उपयोगी हो सकते हैं और सीनेट को मेस्मेरिज्म के लिए विलक्षण पात्र मिलेंगे यदि वे इसकी खोज करें तो। अगला पॉइंट है, मिस्टर सीनेट को मास्टर एम द्वारा यह सलाह दी जाती है कि वे अपने नन्हे बच्चे को मांस तथा मुर्गी खाने से रोके। यह उनका खास दायित्व है और मिसेस सीनेट को इस बारे में सूचित करे। एक बार जब माँ ने बच्चे को मास्टर केज के शरण में आश्रय में रखने के बाद उसे यह ख्याल रखना चाहिए कि बच्चे का स्वभाव किसी भी तरह से दूषित न हो। आने वाले भविष्य काल में बच्चा भलाई के लिए एक सामर्थ्यशाली साधन बन सकता है। उसे उसके स्वाभाविकता के अनुसार प्रशिक्षित किया जाना चाहिए। अगला पॉइंट है, मिस्टर एस को सीनेट को कर्नल ओलकॉट को टेलीग्राफ करने के लिए याद दिलाया जाता है कि जब तक उन्हें मिस्टर सीनेट से पत्र प्राप्त नहीं होता है तब तक वे मिस्टर ह्यूम के एक भी प्रश्न का जवाब न दें। अगला पॉइंट है, चूंकि मिस्टर एस अब अकेले होंगे इसीलिए उन्हें यह सलाह दी जाती है कि आदित्य राम दी की सहायता से वे कुछ हिंदू साधकों के संपर्क में रहे। उनसे तत्वज्ञान के लिए नहीं बल्कि मन शक्ति से क्या घटनाएं उत्पन्न की जा सकती है, इसलिए मेले में शामिल होने ऐसे कई साधक शहर में दाखिल होंगे। अगले पॉइंट में मास्टर आदेश देते हैं कि जब भी मिस्टर सीनेट को मास्टर एम को लिखने का मन करे या उनकी सलाह की आवश्यकता हो, तब वे बिना किसी झिझक के ऐसा करने के लिए कहा गया है। मास्टर एम हमेशा उत्तर देंगे, न केवल मास्टर के एच के लिए बल्कि अपने लिए भी, क्योंकि मिस्टर एस ने यह साबित किया है कि एक एंग्लो इंडियन में भी वह चमक है, तेजस्विता है जिसे कोई भी ब्रांडी और सोडा और अन्य कोई तत्सम वस्तु बुझा नहीं सकती और जो कभी कभी बहुत ही उज्ज्वलता पूर्वक चमकेगा। आखिर में मास्टर एम का लिखित नोट है, वह इस प्रकार से है, यह मेरी मंशा थी कि एचपीबी इस पत्र को कल रात फॉर्न को पढ़कर सुनाए। यदि आप चाहे तो यह पत्र आरएस को दिखाए और पढ़ने दें। उपरोक्त सभी बातें सही है। अगला पत्र है लेटर नंबर 5 जो कि 2 नवंबर 1880 में लिखा था। 6 नवंबर 1880 को द बॉम्बे गैजेट नामक वृत्तपत्र ने एचपीबी के रूसी वृत्तपत्र के संवाददाता होने के बारे में एक लेख प्रकाशित किया, एक ऐसा तथ्य जिसे एचपीबी ने खुलेआम स्वीकार किया। एचपीबी ने वृत्तपत्र में छपे लेख के लिए उत्तर लिखा और उसके प्रकाशन के लिए सीनेट को भेजा, लेकिन सीनेट को यह नहीं मिला। एचपीबी ने उसके बाद एक और पत्र लिखा जिसका अंतिम भाग नीचे आता है। पत्र के अंत में मास्टर केज का नोट है। एचपीबी लिखती है, यह पत्र वही था जिसे मैंने आपको भेजा था और आपसे इसे छापने की उत्कटतापूर्ण विनती की थी, क्योंकि मैं मेरे कम से कम एक मूर्ख शत्रु का सर ठिकाने लगाना चाहती थी। इस पर मास्टर केज ने टिप्पणी की कि यह बेहतर होगा कि मैं आपको ऊपर उद्धृत मूर्खतापूर्ण पैराग्राफ पर संपादकीय टिप्पणी के रूप में कुछ वाक्य लिखने दी। मैंने कहा नहीं, मुझे पता था कि आपको किसी ने लिखने को कहा जाना पसंद नहीं है। इसके अलावा मेरा लिखना अधिक बेहतर और उपयुक्त होगा, इसलिए मैंने तुम्हें मेरा लिखित वह लेख भेजा था। लेकिन ऐसा प्रतीत होता है कि उनका यानी मास्टर केज का अपना तरीका है, क्योंकि मेरा पत्र ऐसे कैसे सकता था। यह महात्मा केज थे जिन्होंने अपनी कोई चाल चली, क्योंकि वे बुद्धिमान है, सामर्थ्यशाली है और ताकतवर, स्वस्थ है, और मैं एक मूर्ख हूँ और अब कमजोर और बीमार हूँ। यदि मैं इतनी बेकार और मूर्ख हूँ तो वे मुझे मार क्यों नहीं देते। डॉक्टर लॉरी कल मुझे यात्रा करने की मंजूरी नहीं देंगे, हालांकि वे मुझे स्थान बदलने की सलाह देते हैं। वे कहते हैं कि मेरी नर्व्स की बीमारी बहुत ज्यादा है, तेज बुखार और बहुत कुछ। ओह, मैं अपने इस बूढ़े शरीर से उकता गई हूँ। आप दोनों को प्यारे ने सीनेट को और मिसेस सीनेट को प्यार, आपकी मैडम ब्लेवेट्स्की। इस पर मास्टर केज का नोट है कि आत्मा सामर्थ्यशाली है, लेकिन शरीर कमजोर है, कभी कभी इतना कमजोर कि यह उस शक्तिशाली आत्मा को भी मात देता है जो सब सत्यों से अवगत है। और अब अपने नियंत्रण से बाहर हो जाने के बाद वह बेचारा शरीर बड़ा वह बेचारा शरीर बड़बड़ा रहा है। चूंकि मैं भी उसके संदेह से बाहर नहीं, इसलिए आप शायद ही बहुत कृपालु हो सकते हैं या बहुत ज्यादा खतरनाक तरीके से काम कर सकते हैं। नर्वस सिस्टम में बिगाड़ कई बार बेवजह अपमान के कारण होता है, जिस पर आपने और कर्नल ऑटपॉट ने ध्यान नहीं दिया होगा, और इसका इलाज केवल आराम और मन की शांति से ही हो सकता है। यदि आपको कभी मनुष्य के द्विधा स्थिति और गुप्त विद्या के माध्यम से उसकी निष्क्रिय अवस्था से एक स्वतंत्र अस्तित्व, अदृश्य लेकिन खड़े स्वरूप तक जागृत होने की संभावना के बारे में कुछ जानना है, तब इस अवसर का लाभ उठाए, निरीक्षण करे और सीखे। ऐसे मामले जीव विज्ञानी और शरीर विज्ञानी को उलझन में डालते हैं, लेकिन जैसे ही कोई इस द्वंद्व को जान लेता है, सब कुछ उजाले की तरह स्पष्ट हो जाता है। मुझे यह कहते हुए खेद है कि अब मैं केवल बहुत ही दुर्लभ अवसरों पर और बहुत सावधानी से एचपीबी के माध्यम से कार्य कर सकता हूँ। मिस्टर ह्यूम के एचपीबी को लिखित संदेह और अपमान भरे पत्र ने स्थिति को और भी बिगाड़ दिया है। शनिवार की रात को उसका तर्क और उसका जीवन दोनों खतरे में थे। अगला पत्र है लेटर नंबर 20, जो दिसंबर 11, 1881 में लिखा था। सीनेट को लिखे गए पत्र में एचपीबी एक पोस्ट स्क्रिप्ट में लिखती है, और फिर बॉस हमेशा कहते थे कि फ्रैगमेंट्स एक बहुत ही अच्छी तरह से लिखा गया लेख है। मास्टर एम के कमेंट्स इस प्रकार है, और बॉस अभी भी ऐसा ही कहते हैं, लेकिन बॉस अब मिस्टर ह्यूम से सोसाइटी और मानवता के लिए कुछ भी करने के लिए नहीं कहेंगे। मिस्टर ह्यूम को अब से अपने गधे पर सवारी करनी होगी और हम भी अपने पैरों से संतुष्ट होंगे। अगला पत्र लेटर नंबर 29 जो कि नवंबर 17, 1883 में लिखा गया था। यह एचपीबी द्वारा सीनेट को लिखे गए पत्र पर मास्टर केज द्वारा लिखा गया नोट है। पत्र का पहला भाग हिडल घटना का संदर्भ देता है और पत्र का एक हिस्सा स्पष्टतः मिटा दिया गया है और निम्नलिखित नोट मास्टर केज की लेखनी में शामिल है। वह नोट इस प्रकार है। एचपीबी के विवेक का खरा प्रमाण। जैसे ही मुझे 1 घंटे का समय मिलेगा मैं आपको सब कुछ बता दूंगा। अगला पत्र है लेटर नंबर 30 जो कि दिसंबर 1883 में लिखा था। एचपीबी ने सीनेट को लिखित पत्र का यह एक भाग है। एचपीबी कहती है इसका कर्म बॉस पर पड़े क्योंकि मैं इस सब में सिर्फ और सिर्फ एक हथियार के रूप में या गैर जिम्मेदार एजेंट नहीं हूँ। मुझे लगता है कि महात्मा के एच ने हमेशा की तरह प्रथम स्थान पर और मेरे बॉस ने दूसरे स्थान पर भूमिका निभाई है। मुझे आपकी बात माननी होगी। मुझे केवल आज्ञा का पालन करना था। इस पर महात्मा एम कहते हैं बिल्कुल, क्योंकि यह सबसे अच्छी नीति है। सीनेट साहब, आपको आश्चर्य नहीं होना चाहिए। हमारे दिल में संपूर्ण आंदोलन और सोसाइटी की भलाई है। बहुसंख्यक लोग की इच्छाएं प्रबल नहीं होगी। अज्ञानी अल्पसंख्यकों की भावनाओं पर भी विचार करना होगा। वह दिन अवश्य आएगा जब सभी बेहतर रूप से जान जाएंगे। इस बीच आंखों यानी एचपीबी अपने चित्रों से केज को मोहित करने की कोशिश करती है। अगला पत्र लेटर नंबर 34 में लिखा गया है। ऐसा है कि लंदन लॉज के बारे में एचपीबी द्वारा सीनेट को लिखे गए पत्र में मास्टर एम द्वारा एक लंबे पैराग्राफ में सही शब्द जोड़ा गया था। एना किंग्सफोर्ड एसोटेरिक क्रिश्चियनिटी को मानती थी, बढ़ावा देती थी, तो सीनेट एसोटेरिक बुद्धिज्म को। महाचौहान दोनों को लंदन लॉज के प्रेसिडेंट बनाना चाहते थे आर्टिकल 1 के अनुसार। इस पर मास्टर एम करेक्ट लिखते हैं। आखिर में लेटर नंबर 50 एचपीबी द्वारा सीनेट को लिखे गए पत्र पर महात्मा एम की टिप्पणी पत्र में थियोसॉफिस्ट के प्रबंधन और दीवान के बारे में डीएन यानी दीवान बहादुर रघुनाथ राव नारायण सिंह के बारे में बताया गया है, जिसमें मास्टर एम लिखते हैं संपूर्ण सत्य के लगभग 8वें भाग की यह ट्रू कॉपी है। थैंक यू। नमस्ते।
Thank you, Sister Meenakshi ji. And now we can have questions or discussions from our participants.
Hello.
Hello.
Yeah.
Yes,
So
Vimal.
actually, I'd like to bring this letter LBS 5, in which Kutami has written in response to HPB's letter. In that, I found this part that understand the difference between your lower self and higher self. Really, very useful teaching, because that's what he is emphasizing here. That as of now, because of her mental condition and her physical condition, her body has completely overtaken her higher self. Whatever the directions of the higher self. So you can learn that this can easily happen to any one of us, where our bodily sometimes out of anger or something goes wrong, some issues, we know that we are supposed to forgive, we know that we have to look at the good side, but still we are overcome with the emotion so much that we are not able to control our emotional self. So here, obviously, the learning is that we have to control our emotional lower self with our higher self. And I thought this was a very, very useful letter. That's what I wanted to share. Thank you. Very nice talk by Catalina, as usual. Thank you.
And very nice and pertinent comment as always, Vimal. Thank you very much. It's really wonderful what you brought, because it talks to us, and it's related to our practical life and daily life, and to this process of self knowledge and self transformation. So it's very important. Thank you very much.
One, like if you see Blavatsky, the main problem Blavatsky had throughout that era was that if anybody criticized her publicly, she was in trouble. If anything came against newspaper, in any written this thing anywhere, any publication, she could not control her emotions in that. Maybe it was, as we know that one of her each something from each of her 7 bodies was kept in Tibet for as a safeguard for 2 reasons. So because of that, her overall system was affected by this one thing, which in these series only I read later on. It says that you and Alcott and all of you, Sinnet and all, won't be bothered about what people say, but whatever people say affects her very badly. Any thing. So this was her sensitivity. This was why she suffered more. Which normally, had she been her full normal self, she was not bothered. We have to remember that lady who, at the age of 18, took the challenge that I will get married to this man, and then within 4 months left him and went off to the travel all over the world. Look at the courage of that lady. She was not going to be that woman who was going to be affected by people's comments or all this coming in the whatever said about her or written about her. But she became oversensitive because of that whole thing that the masters had to do. So we must remember that part when we're studying. Whenever we read about HPB's troubled times, we must remember that she was not her whole self at all.
Right. That is a very important observation. Now, if we have any more questions. I think so. Then we can leave these points for the participants to ponder upon. Anything else you would like to add, Catalina, at the end?
No, nothing. I mean, I just want to thank everyone for the patience, and for, you and Vimal for your for being here, Sister Minashki for the translation, and Vimal as always for these very interesting comments. And a little bit of what Sister Vimal said in the last about these 7 bodies will be also talk about in the next session, because there is a letter of Hume in which he touches about those. So let's keep that in mind, and as you said, reflect upon and bring it for next time. Yeah.
Right. Thank you so much, Sister Catalina, and thank you to all our participants for being here. And we will see you all in our next session. So thank you all, and we close the session with our closing prayer. Om Asito Ma Sadgamaya Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya Mrityorma Amritam Gamaya. Om Sarvesham Swastirabhavatu Sarvesham Shantirabhavatu Sarvesham Purnam Bhavatu Sarvesham Mangalam Bhavatu Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinah Sarve Santu Niramaya Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu Ma Kaschit Dukhabhag Bhavet. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Namaste. Thank you all for joining. Thank you.